Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to Premier League predictions for yet another round of games. I'm really excited for these ones and I'm joined by Sophie yet again. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm not too bad, really buzzing to get into more games. I did get the better of Sophie last time with our predictions, a 7-5 win, which has brought us level. We are level for our prediction scores against each other. Do make sure to get involved with your predictions down below. We're always intrigued to see what your predictions are for the Premier League game, so get down in the comments. And before we get into the games themselves, you know the drill. Do make sure to hit that thumbs up button as we go for 1,200 likes again. It's free to hit the thumbs up button, so do get involved, and we keep smashing our targets, so do make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And do make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. It's completely free to do that, and we're closing in on 40,000 subscribers really quickly, so hit that subscribe button to show us some support. It's free to do, and you'll see all of our content when it goes out. For this week's video, we've got 11 Premier League games to predict. Yes, I know it's usually 10, but we've got one game on the Tuesday as well for Luton Town versus Burnley, which was rearranged because it was meant to be played out weeks ago, but Luton Town Stadium wasn't ready. So Luton Town and Burnley will both feature twice in today's video. Let's dive into the predictions, Sophie, starting with a bit of a cracker here. At Villa Park, it's Aston Villa versus Brighton. This is a really difficult one to call. Two sides that were one place apart last season as they both made it to Europe. Brighton finished 6th, Aston Villa finished 7th. And they've both started this season pretty well. I don't think there's going to be a lot between the two. Brighton are really flying, but Villa aren't far behind them. This is a difficult one. I would say, given the fact Brighton just finished ahead of Villa last season and they're just ahead of this season, maybe Brighton are marginally better. But with Villa being at home, that might cancel it out. I think Villa look very good at home, and especially under Unai Emery. To be honest, Sophie, I'm going to be pretty boring here. Two sides that I think are fantastic and I think are going to cancel each other out. 1-1.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way, equally, end in a draw. They're very, very evenly matched. But I feel like I'm going to have to lean towards Brighton. Even being the away side here, I can just see them getting it over the line. So 2-1 Brighton.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there's not a lot between that one.
No.
Both look very good. Do get your predictions in for Aston Villa and Brighton. Down to the south coast we go for AFC Bournemouth versus Arsenal. Now, Bournemouth still chasing that first Premier League win. They're getting close. They're getting draws. They're taking the leads in some games. And they've got a fixture like this, which I don't know, I just don't know if I can go for Bournemouth here. I ultimately think they will get that first win soon. They look all right. And I think, as I've said before, out of the teams without a win, they look the best. And I do feel like Bournemouth should stay up at this moment in time. But they're up against Arsenal. Arsenal will really need to target this. They dropped points in the North London derby. Yes, Tottenham are good, but Arsenal were the home team and certainly the more favourites for that one. So Arsenal need to make sure they come away with 3 points here. And I think they will just. I'm going to go Bournemouth 1, Arsenal 2.
Yeah, I feel like in this one, I don't see Arsenal conceding. I feel like they'll keep Ryan in goal and they'll keep a clean sheet. But they're going to have to fight for it because, as you say, Bournemouth haven't been playing terrible. But I do see Arsenal winning this one. Not that convincing, but 2-0.
2-0.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right, Sophie, this is a huge game at Goodison Park. It's Everton versus Luton Town. Now, last week, if you'd have asked me, I'd have sat on the fence. I'd have said, this is too close to call. And then Everton showed me just enough to convince me here. They were very good at Brentford. Very, very good. That's a very difficult result to pick up. Top teams can go to Brentford and struggle. So well done to Everton on getting that win. Luton Town, I watched them against Wolves and they played really well. There's a lot of positives to take from that. But given the fact that they had lots of good chances and they were playing 10 men for half of the game, they've got to be frustrated that they didn't get their first Premier League win. I know they've got their first Premier League point, but they need to get a bit of a move on. It's getting a bit static down there and a win would be massive. I fancy Everton though. I think Luton might actually put in a good performance here and show some good signs, but maybe when it comes to just getting the ball in the back of the net, Everton have that bit more about them. So Everton are going to get back-to-back wins in the Premier League. 2-1.
Yeah, I agree with you. I see Everton winning this one. Out of all of the teams down at the bottom at the moment, I have the most faith in Everton. They always seem to turn it around, and that was a great result against Brentford. Luton, not a bad point against Wolves. 10-man Wolves, and it was a penalty, but it was still a point, and they need the points. But for me, Everton win this. I'm going to say another 3-1 win.
Oh, okay. 3-1 to the Toffees again. Right, Sophie, we're doing it all over again at Old Trafford. Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. We're recording this before they do lock horns in the Carabao Cup, which makes it a little bit more difficult because maybe that could show potentially how the outcome of the game in the Premier League plays out. Possibly, possibly not. It might be that one team wins one game and one team wins the other. I'm not convinced by Manchester United. They have the quality to win narrow games. They've done that against Burnley. They've done that against Wolves. They've done that against Forest. But they're just about doing it. And Palace I feel like they've got a decent record of coming to Old Trafford and getting results. So I'm going to say for this one, Palace 1-0.
Okay, I see a draw playing out for this one. I backed a United win in the Carabao Cup, which I just feel like it's a different competition. 1-1.
1-1. Okay, right, Sophie. We're going up to Newcastle against Burnley next. This is Burnley, who sit 19th, taking on Newcastle, who have just scored 8 against 20th place Sheffield United. The warning signs are there, and I do worry that if Burnley go there and play their very open football, that they could be hit for 5s and 6s. Yeah. It's not so much a diss for Burnley, but just the credit needs to be given to Newcastle. And 8 different goal scorers against Sheffield United is incredible. Burnley, they've got a... I do like how they play because they go for it. They will score a fair few goals and they will concede a fair few goals, but they've got to be able to adapt to certain games. Because if you play with... if you play open in this kind of game, think back to Villa. They played with a high line in this game and they lost 5-1 at Newcastle. Newcastle can hurt you. I'm going to say Newcastle win 3-1. I feel like that's not a terrible result for Burnley here.
No, I agree. I can see this being like a 3-4-0 win just because of how open Burnley leave themselves sometimes and how ruthless Newcastle are. It's just insane. But I like that about them. And as you say, 8 different goal scorers. That's insane as well. But I see it being a tighter one than the Sheffield United game. I'll go 3-0.
3-0?
3-0, yeah. I'm in an hour in between 3 and 4-0, but I see 3-0 playing out.
Okay, it's we rarely ever go too outrageous in these predictions. Like we're never going to call an 8-0 win, but Newcastle have that ability to hit some big numbers, don't they? We do recognise that. Right. Going from Newcastle to the team they smashed, Sheffield United are away in the capital against West Ham. And the interesting thing here is West Ham have had a good start and they've lost their last 2 games, but that was against Man City and Liverpool. Will that maybe knock them back down a bit, or will that rile them up for a win this time? Sheffield United, before that Newcastle game, their games have been really tight. They lost to Spurs 2-1, they lost to Man City 2-1, they got a draw against Everton. I don't know if it's a blip or if that's just the wallpaper coming off some serious cracks that Sheffield United have been hiding. I really want to see Sheffield United bounce back from that. That has got to be like the lowest football can make you feel. 8-0. Yeah. And by the way, just think of the 2 extremes here. Sheffield United, this time, last week or whatever, they were 1-0 up at Tottenham with minutes to go. They lost that one in the dying stages and followed up with an 8-0 defeat. I mean, that has got to be like the worst week in footballing history.
Football's brutal.
So do you know what? I think if Sheffield United get on the training pitch, work their bloody arses off, and Heckingbottom could get them in the right mood, maybe, just maybe, they can bounce back and show that it was a blip. And West Ham, they do have the quality. I do make them favourites, but I'm going to chuck a little bit of a surprise in there and say Sheffield United are going to surprise everyone and get a draw.
Okay.
2-2.
Yeah, I mean, last time out I backed a Sheffield United win against Newcastle, and it's fair to say I hit the post on that one.
It was close,
It was very close. So obviously this week I'm not going to back a Sheffield United win. I do see it being a closer game though, but for me, West Ham win this 2-0.
2-0, okay. Right, Sophie, on to Molineux. It's Wolves versus Manchester City. And it's interesting with Man City. I still feel confident that they should win the league. But it does feel like a car going along really fast. But bits and pieces are starting to fly off with these players getting injured. A red card for Rodri. Can they just keep going a bit further?
Because over the line.
Yeah, because if they get to a point where they've got like a 7 or 8 or 9 point gap, they can afford 1 or 2 bad results. But don't know. Do they beat Wolves? I mean, Wolves are a team that can put in a good performance but come away with nothing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But they showed kind of the opposite against Luton, because I don't think Wolves were very good in the first half in particular. But with 10 men, they looked better in the second half and came away with a draw. They could have won that game as well. I think I'm going to edge Man City. They just keep getting results, even though their squad's maybe not as strong as it could be. I'll give Wolves a goal. I'll say Wolves 1, City 2.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to give Wolves a goal, but I don't see it being an absolute rollover. For me, Man City win again 2-0, just because they have got that quality. As you said, they are picking up a couple of injuries. They've got Rodri out for this one, but they've still got enough to get it over the line for me. So 2-0.
2-0. Right, Sophie, easily the best game in the Premier League this weekend. It's Tottenham Hotspur versus Liverpool. This should be interesting. Both show just how good they can be on the Sunday. Liverpool beating West Ham 3-1 to keep up this really good run. Tottenham Hotspur, we said that they have a chance at Arsenal, but we just did lean towards Arsenal 2-1 for our predictions, and Spurs did get a 2-2 draw. I want to sit on the fence here, but I'm cautious. I feel like every time in these kind of big games where I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know which way to go. If I lean towards one team, it'll be a draw. And if I sit on the fence, one of the teams will win. I'm going to sit on the fence here, though. I've got to go for an entertaining 2-2 draw again. Tottenham looks so good. Liverpool looks so good. This game should be really good. Can't separate them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really tempted to agree with you and say a Desmond, but for me, Liverpool have shown that when they go behind, they can pull it around. And they've done that 3 games now, and I see them doing it again. I see them going 2-0 down, winning it 3-2.
Whoa!
Yeah. Won't happen now, but
this is a really difficult game, though. It's like watching 2 Avengers fight, because you look at Tottenham and think they've got so many good things going for them. But Liverpool do as well, so it's a really difficult one. Right. On to the City ground next, Sophie. It's Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. Forest with that 2-0 defeat at Man City. If the 2 goals hadn't gone in the first 15 minutes, obviously the game could have played out differently. Rodri getting sent off meant that Forest were able to, play some better stuff in the second half, but was it too much of a mountain to climb coming back from 2-0? Maybe. Brentford, they lost 3-1 to Everton, and it's back-to-back defeats for them in the Premier League because they lost to Newcastle before that. So I think Forest should smell blood here. We know that they're a very good team at the City ground. They haven't lost at home yet. And Brentford coming into this not great form makes me think Forest could pinch this. I think this will be close, but I do actually think Forest get another win and keep up this pretty decent start. Forest 1-0.
Okay, so I'm going to be the boring one here and say a draw. I will give them a goal apiece. I'll say a 1-1 draw, but at the moment I'm struggling to separate the two. So 1-1.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, Brentford's, we know that they're better than these results that they've been picking up. But
right now,
yeah,
you could lean more towards Forest, so that's why I'm kind of saying 1-1. I
agree. Forest are looking pretty sharp. They've got some very good players at the moment. We shall see how they get on. 2 games left, Sophie. Let's go to a West London derby. It's Fulham versus Chelsea. This one should be interesting because I don't think Chelsea are favourites anymore. I mean, in this game, usually it's Chelsea should win. Chelsea are the favourites. They're a top Premier League team. Fulham were a bottom half Premier League team. That's when I was growing up anyway. But Fulham were the team that finished in the top half last season, Chelsea in the bottom half, and I could see potentially the same happening again this year. Chelsea, as I keep saying, play some nice stuff. If they had some money, I'd chuck it all on one player who's an out-and-out goal scorer. Yeah. I know they've got Nkunku who got injured, but right now they look a mess. And Fulham, yeah, I just fancy her. There's a lot more positives there. They've got a good team, Fulham. Fulham, you're going to win 2-1.
So I'm actually going to say another draw for me, but a 0-0 stalemate. I feel like it could be a really entertaining one. Lots of shots on goal for both teams, but I don't know. I just see a 0-0 playing out here. So
interesting. There we go, a 0-0 draw. Very exciting for the West London derby there. Right, 1 game left, Sophie. And like I say, we've already discussed these 2 teams, Luton Town and Burnley. But this game is on the Tuesday and it's rearranged because it was meant to be played out in the 2nd game week, but it couldn't be because Luton Town Stadium wasn't ready. So, interesting this. It's difficult to gauge which way this might go because Luton and Burnley will have both just played before it. As we say, Luton go to Everton, Burnley go to Newcastle. Burnley did obviously finish higher in the Championship last year. And I think it was a draw at Turf Moor. I think Burnley did just get a win here at Kenilworth Road. I think with Luton being the home team, it evens things out a little bit. Both have a different way of playing football. Ultimately, I think it could be a really frustrating one where both really need that first win. I'm going to sit on the fence and say 1-1.
I know this is a difficult one because, as we say, neither team is going to benefit from the draw here, to be honest. Both teams need to look at this as a must-win. It's so hard to separate the two, but I feel like the way Burnley play, they're quite attacking and they could punish Luton. So I'm going to say 2-1 Burnley.
Ooh, 2-1 to the Clarets. There you go. Burnley with the win there. Well, do make sure to get your predictions in for all 11 Premier League games. As I say, 10 Premier League games this weekend and the one game on the Tuesday for Luton Town versus Burnley. Do make sure as well that you hit that like button. It is free to do. And do make sure to subscribe. It's free to do. And we're closing in on 40,000 subscribers. So do get involved. Thank you for joining me, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you all in the next one. Peace out.